Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Triple Double Show. I'm here with my good friend and pal and professional NBA expert, Ronald, and he is number one last year at SportsMemo in the NBA, making over 80 units. And at the end of the show, we're going to give you a special promotion that gives you even more discount off the 50% 30-day subscription for the NBA. So, Ronald, we're going to get right at it here. There's a game that I studied early this morning already that I'm pretty high on, and it's the Knicks game, and they're hosting probably one of the weakest teams in the league, arguably. And I found some interesting stuff to talk about initially. And in this game, we have the Knicks as a double-digit favorite, and the total is roughly around 208. So with this game, what I'm seeing is the situation is an overplay, and I'm trying to think how to word it here so it's not so confusing. But just have to open up my notes here real quick. There was one I forgot to open. But in this matchup, I think the Knicks, number one, will get out to a fast start, and I don't put any credence in the media saying that the Knicks now found a way to play defense. You mentioned it on Monday that Kemba Walker was a big liability on defense, but he does, as you said, have the ability to play very, very good elite defense at the NBA level, and it did show. But I also think that if you watched I watched the game films after the game is over because it's quicker, and it was a combination maybe of the defense being a little bit better and Indiana just having a bad night. They missed a lot of wide open jumpers, and I'm not sold on this new suddenly defensive Knicks team yet. I think the market has adjusted though. So in this research of mine, the fourth quarter is a very interesting quarter, Ronald, because you have the number one scoring offensive team in Orlando averaging close to close to 29 points in the fourth quarter per game on the season. And you also have the second worst defense in the Knicks, allowing almost the same number. I could see the second quarter going a little slow. So if you bet the over, it seems to be the perfect storm to bet 50% pre-flop, wait for the middle to the end of the second half, and if things are really going slow, which has been the tendency in Knicks games, you'll be able to get the total maybe south of 200, knowing that once you get through the third quarter, the fourth quarter, if the Knicks have a 15-point lead, it's just going to be run and gun. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that strategy, and what else do you see in the game?
Yeah, I mean, in this specific matchup, game script wise, the Knicks are primarily a first half team. I think Ski Profit from Wager Talk talks about this trend a lot. Is that the Knicks first half, and I agree with them. But and what you're saying here with Orlando being one of the top fourth quarter scoring teams is probably because they're always behind, and they're always trying to play catch up. I do agree with the fourth quarter over. I mean, I think if you put in the Knicks second unit in there with the Orlando fourth quarter offense, I think they can go over whatever the total might be in that spot. So if I were to look at this game and call a game script, it would be Knicks first half against the spread, and then that over in that fourth quarter. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so. There's a little angle here I stumbled upon in my all-knowing database, and Orlando has allowed 50% shooting in 3 consecutive games. It doesn't happen that often. It's happened about 55 times over the last 3 seasons. I would have expected probably closer to 100. But anyway, when you have a road underdog, such as Orlando is, and they have allowed their last 3 opponents 50% shooting or more in each one of those games, the over has gone 36-18-1 for 67% winning bets, and 82% winners since the start of the 2019 season on a 22-6-1 push record. The average score in these games since 2019 has been 234 points, with the host averaging 121. Now, recognizing that the scoring is down, it actually tweaked up just a little bit, Ronald, as you know, from the bottom, which was about 107.2. We're like in 108.4 now. But still, all three games last night played under. So maybe the trend is still to the under. But what do you think about the team total? Knicks over 110.
Team total Knicks over 110. I think personally I would stay away from that just because looking at the last 5 games, their offensive rating has taken a dip. But if you look at Orlando, they're one of the worst defensive teams. So, there's a balance there. 108. You said 108, right?
I think it's 110.
110. Okay,
I
yeah.
saw this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, 110. I think that might be that's a tough number. I think it's too close to call for me specifically, like personally, just because of the recent games and how that's going. I want to see, Barrett do a little bit better offensively. Ever since the Bucks game, he's sort of taken a dip offensively. So, and Randall too as well. So yeah,
Right.
I want to see some changes in the next couple games. But I think in this matchup, they should take care of this Magic team.
I think so too. And as a last takeaway here, I don't see the Knicks going away from their season strategy of shooting threes. They rank fifth in three-pointers made at 13.8. They're making 37% of their three-point shots, which also ranks fifth. So it stands to reason that they would want to play fast against Orlando, knowing that they're offensively challenged and defensively challenged, as you said.
Yeah.
So I think right now I'm leaning on the over, and then we'll have to revisit that fourth quarter situation. If assuming that the Knicks are double-digit lead going into that frame, it could give you a pretty good total overall on the in-game bet.
Yeah, in this game, if I were to pick anything, it would probably be the Knicks first half.
Okay, I'm on board with that too. It is the difference between the two teams is monumental, and I think of all the things we talked about, Ronald, other than the fourth quarter and first half Knicks, I think I like by far the best of everything we talked about, for sure. So now we're going to move on to the next game, and that is in just getting it up here with the notes. So we have right here, I got it. Bulls, Trailblazers. Now, this is the last game on the slate. It's also starting at the same time as the Mavs Suns, and the Suns will be going for their 10th consecutive win. The Bulls are playing hot, 10-4. You and I have talked about them before. We talked about them preseason as a team that would probably be a great futures bet, over 42.5 wins. So far, so good.
Yeah.
This game's at the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. Portland is only favored by 1.5. Over-under is 219.5. What are your initial thoughts here?
Like you mentioned there, the Bulls are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They beat both LA teams by double digits recently. And the Blazers are under 500 this season, but they're at home. And right now, to me, it seems like they're a different beast at home. Currently 6-1 straight up at home versus 1-7 on the road. They're second in the league in offensive rating when they play at home as well. So I think right now, because of their record, a lot of teams are putting them down. But they've had some tough road games, and they've been winning at home, like I mentioned. So I think in this spot here, you can see a combination of sort of a letdown spot on the Bulls side, and the Blazers being undervalued. The Bulls also have the Nuggets coming up next, and that's a key matchup for them to sort of prove that they're one of the top teams in the league. So I think in this spot here, I think a lot of folks are going to be looking at the Bulls in this spot just because they feel like they're the hotter team. But the Blazers, this looks like a prime Blazer spot right now.
I think you're right. The Bulls are pretty good when playing against a team with a winning record. But I always kind of back away from those kind of trends. By the way, the Bulls are 28-9 against the spread when playing against a team with a losing record in games played over the last 2 seasons. But we're pretty early on here. First 15 games, 14 games for the Bulls. Portland's only 7-8, and I kind of discount that trend favoring the Bulls because Portland is, in my eyes, is a better team than 7-8. Lillard got off to a horrid start, and they're starting to bounce back. Mm-hmm. And they know, even though this is only the 16th game of the season, this is a game that would be good to win, most certainly.
I think both Dame Lillard and Powell, I think they're both game time decision. So even though I'm leaning the Blazers today, I would wait to see if they both play. I think that those two guys are obviously important to the team. If they play, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on the Blazers today.
And I just noticed too, our 50% rule. I guess that's what we'll call it. When a team shoots 50% or better from the field, there is a general tendency to underperform. And in other words, the next game, like the Sixers the other night, last night, they obviously are lacking personnel, but they came off a game shooting 52% from beyond the arc for starters, and had just a awesome offensive stat sheet. But then the regression was huge to the under, and then that was one of my plays last night. So in this game, we have 55% shooting by the Bulls in their win over the Lakers, 121-103 in their last game. That obviously went over the 215-point total pretty easily. And Portland, too, 56.1% shooting in a 118-113 win as a 2-point favorite home against Toronto 2 days ago. So do you think there's when you have that kind of combination that the under might be a lean?
To me, I think it's the over. I know we've been talking about the defense of the Bulls here, but again, I'm looking at a letdown spot. And the Blazers, like I mentioned, they're number 2 at home in offensive rating. Number 2 in offensive rating when they play at home. So I think right in this spot here, I think that this might be an over lean as well. I think defensively they played some tough games against the LA squad, so they could be kind of not mailing it in, but I think they're gonna play a little bit looser. They're gonna need to reserve some energy to play against the Nuggets. So I think for me, this game here, I would lean Blazers and the over.
Yeah, and I just noticed too, the Bulls are playing their third game in 4 days, which is pretty rare even for the NBA. So tired legs, second half. I like this Portland idea even more now, and the over.
Yeah,
good stuff. Let's move on to the third and final game of our triple-double, and that is the Washington Wizards, who are, to me, a very surprised team, but they are playing well. It's not smoke and mirrors by any stretch of the imagination. And they're playing the Hornets, which is, I guess they're the second highest scoring team now, as Golden State kind of blew by them. And what a game last night Golden State had in Brooklyn. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
That was Curry's Curry. I mean, it's just like Michael is Michael, Brady is Brady, etc. I mean, it's just amazing. So the Wizards are off to a 10-3 start. Hornets are 8-7. Charlotte is actually favored by a point, which kind of surprised me. The over/under 219. Initial thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, for me, so obviously the Wizards are coming in hot, and they're on a 5-game win streak, and two of their last wins were actually without Bradley Beal, and I believe he's going to be playing today. And out of those 5 games, and they've covered 4 of them, and they're also on a 6-game under streak as well. And on the road, they're 1-5 on the season to the under. Sorry, 5-1 to the under. And I think in this spot here, the Wizards are 5th in defensive rating. on the season. They're second in opponent field goal percentage and one of the best at defending the three as well. They allow the lowest number of points in fast breaks per game. And Charlotte, they're on a 3-game win streak, covered all three, and all three of those games went under. And I think they've kind of figured out they can't just try and outscore their opponents. They're going to need to play some defense to win games. And in these last 3 games, they've actually are a top 4 team in defensive rating. So I think in this spot here, both teams play solid defense. I think both defenses show up. The Wizards may fall flat here in Beal's first game back. And then you could see the Hornets kind of falling flat in a letdown spot here after beating the Warriors outright. To me, the signs point to an under game. And if I was to pick a side here, I would probably go with the Wizards. I think even though both teams might look flat, I think the depth of the Wizards, being able to win those games without Bradley Beal shows the depth of this Wizards team, and I think that might be the difference here.
Yeah, and the line, the total for this game opened at 214.5, and I'm looking at wagertalk.com/odds, which I personally think is one of the best odds pages on the planet. And it's already at 219. It's gone up 4.5 points since the opening just this morning.
Sure.
And
yeah.
We're recording this mid-morning Eastern Standard Time, so it's
I'm wondering,
pretty big move.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the opening number was based off of Bradley Beal maybe not playing,
Good
or
point.
yeah. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that 219 is actually a better number for the under for me, in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's at Heritage and Pinnacle are the two books I like the best because they take if you have $100,000, they'll place it for you. And they're kind of, I view them as the leaders during the day, especially. Mm-hmm. So their Heritage is at 219.5, and Penny is at 219 under minus 0.5 juice. And the side is interesting too because money has come flowing in on Washington. And as you said, they're definitely the better team on both sides of the ball. 2.5, Charlotte opened as a favorite, and Circa now is at pick. Everybody else, Heritage and Pinnacle, was at -1. So it looks like Washington could end up being a 1.5 point favorite maybe by game time. Mm-hmm. And that's got some steam behind it already. It's pretty early.
I think it definitely has to do with probably Beal. It seems like those moves tell me that it probably wasn't sure. They probably weren't sure if Beal was playing or not.
Well, I just I have a note here. Just flashed across my feed. Bradley Beal upgraded to probable Wednesday versus Charlotte.
Yeah, that makes sense then. The moves make sense then with that news.
And Gordon Hayward is actually probable for Wednesday, too. He's nursing a hamstring injury. So that might have helped as well, I guess. But the money coming in on Washington, the side and the total is definitely related to the news on Bradley Beal being listed as probable for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... I'm just looking at some of the angles here that are supporting Washington, and it's pretty amazing. They're 15-3 against the number, Ronald, after they won 5 or more of their last 7 games in games played over the last 2 seasons. They're 12-2 against the number after having won 6 or 7 of the last 8 over the last 2 seasons. So that brings up one of those lessons I like to talk about. The under in Washington games have ripped off 7 in a row. Despite that, they've shot 58, 51, and 50% in 3 of those games. But their defense, 4 of the last 5, they allowed 40% or less shooting. The only game that they allowed more than that was at Cleveland. They allowed 46%. But won in 97-94 as a 3-point favorite and pushed. They've also won 5 in a row. They've won 4 and one push against the number.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a time to try to fade Washington because, if you're just starting out in these NBA betting circles, you don't want to start thinking, red came up 7 times in a row in the roulette table and then I'm going to go black. That's just dangerous. There's nothing. There's no such word as due. Like a team is not due to win. If they keep going under and they keep covering, that's the trend that's in place. Eventually it changes, but I don't see how it would in this situation. And I like your idea with the 219.5 under. How high do you think it could go?
I mean, I think the the initial news, obviously bumped it up 4.5 points now. I don't think, from my opinion, I don't think it should go any higher. Obviously, but if it does, I don't know. To me, I think 219 is already a good spot. I wouldn't, if I like the under here, I would probably take it now, because the news is already out, right?
Yep.
So it's not like there's going to be any more surprises that'll make the number steam higher. I really do think that the under is the right spot here. It's likely going to be a premium play here. So that's how much I like. Yeah, that's how much I like it. The Hornets offensively, I think they lean on the three. They might not be one of the top teams as far as like how many three-pointers they shoot, but they shoot a high percentage, and that's how they've been able to score a lot of points. But I mean, the Wizards have been one of the best defenders of the three, so I think that's going to balance out, and that might mean they're going to struggle to put up points today. And same thing with the Warriors game. The Warriors, they're one of the better defensive teams in the league, and they limited the Hornets to under their season average. I mean, obviously Hornets got out with the win, but I think in that spot, the Warriors were looking ahead to the net. So, I really like the under here.
Yeah, it reminds me of an adage, common saying from my Wall Street days: buy the rumor, sell the fact. So the rumor was that Beal was going to play. 214.5 was the opening. All of a sudden the news comes out. So now what we're essentially doing is selling on the rally. And 219.5, that makes total sense to me to sell into the strength of this steam move on the total for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that'll about do it for this show. I always hate when we get to the end of the show, Ronald, but it's a pleasure having you on as my partner in the NBA Triple Double show.
Yeah, thanks,
and by the
man.
way, we have a special going on. So as I said in the beginning of the show, you can take $20 more off the 30-day subscription, which is already discounted 50%, just for watching this show. In a way of us saying thank you for watching it and subscribing and really hammering that little bell that everybody talks about. So you can get 30 days of Ronald's or my NBA subscription for just $79. Just use the promo code CASH20, capital letters CASH20, over at sportsmemo.com. And I promise you will learn a ton from either one of us over the next 30 days. So take advantage of it. It comes out to $2.63. I mean, that's like a third of a pint of IPA. And I think most of the people listening to this show can afford $2.63 per day from two proven winners. So, Ron, thanks for your time as always. And on behalf of Ronald, myself, sportsmemo.com, and the Predictive Playbook NBA Triple Double Show, may all the wins be yours.